Nada, are the guests here?
The guests are here.
Who should we allow to share screen?
Let me get started first, and then I'm going to see if they need to share screen.
Okay.
So good evening, everyone who joined us since our last greeting to everyone. My name is Deacon Nathaniel Harley. I am the chair for the diaconate at Shiloh Baptist Church New Site. On behalf of our pastor, Dr. Anthony Parrish Sr., who is not with us this evening because of illness, we want to welcome you to tonight's COVID-19 Town Hall, where we want to conduct a question and answer discussion with the community as well as our congregation to allow us all to learn more about how do we combat COVID-19, especially as the African American community and people of faith. So we thank you for joining us. And what I'd like to do now is introduce some of our guests who are joining us tonight. So if you'll give me a second, I'm going to share my screen. And very briefly, hopefully you can see that. We have 4 guests with us tonight, and very distinguished and accomplished ladies within the medical community. First is Dr. Paula Young, who is a medical director of Community Health Access, Bon Secours Mercy Health in Richmond, Virginia. And you see the rest of her biography there, and it's very short in each case because they have a lot more that they could tell you about what they do and their background and experience. Secondly, Dr. Sasheen Taylor. Dr. Taylor, I hope I said your name correctly, ma'am. She is the medical director and chief adult hospitalist for Mary Washington Healthcare. Our own Dr. Judy Coles Bailey, a retired physician in internal medicine, psychiatry, and substance abuse. She is the head of the Shiloh Baptist Church New Site Healthcare Ministry. And last but not least, Ms. Elise Bernard, who is the administrator and vice president of Mary Washington Hospital here in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Ladies, thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. What we want to do on the forum, please, is give you, who are our members, as well as those who join from the community, an opportunity to ask questions and gain more information about how we are dealing with COVID-19, specifically dealing with the vaccines that are now out in our for our use. Before going any further, let me apologize. I want to thank our Xavier Richardson, who has reached out to the 3 ladies here, Dr. Taylor, Ms. Bernard, and Dr. Young, and welcome them and invited them to join us. Thank you very much, Xavier, for doing that. So church family and community, if you have any questions about the vaccine or COVID-19, would ask that you raise them now if you would unmute yourself. If not, we have some Q&As ready to ask the panelists. It is your turn now, please.
I have a question. My name is Irene Green. If I had a steroid injection, would that have anything to do with when I take the test, take the needle?
I'm not sure who you'd like to answer the question, but
anybody. I don't care. Anybody who knows anything about the needles, because I figure if I've had the shot until about 2 weeks ago, going on 2 weeks ago, would that have anything to do with the shot that I would want to take for the virus?
The vaccination. So you're asking if you had a steroid shot a few weeks ago, is it safe for you to take the vaccine?
Right.
So what? Yeah. So that's actually a great question. What the steroid shot does, it actually dampens your immune system. So the whole idea about behind steroids is that it's really trying to quiet the immune system Unfortunately, if you have a medical illness that requires you to take steroids, there's really nothing that would preclude you from receiving the vaccination. It's just that you may have a lesser response than someone who wasn't taking the steroids. So the idea behind the vaccination is that we really want to rev up your immune system, right? We want to get the immune system going. We want to get it working so that it's able to produce the antibodies or the fighter cells that are needed in order to combat the virus. You're actually taking a steroid, which is going to do actually the opposite. So I would definitely encourage you to take the vaccine because you already know that you are at a little bit of more risk because your immune system is a little bit more quiet than someone who's not taking steroids.
Yeah, it's definitely not quiet. All right. I had one more. I didn't want to take up everybody's time.
No,
But
no,
I mean,
definitely.
if
Go
you
ahead.
take this, you take the shot, but you still have to wear the mask. So if you, that's what I figure. You would still have to wear the mask, right?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's another one that comes up quite often. So the idea is, well, if I'm vaccinated and if I am now assumed to be immune, why do I need to continue to wear a mask? And the reason behind that is there is lack of research at this point. Generally, what I'll give you an example of is chickenpox. So the vast majority of us on this call have received the chickenpox vaccination, and no one is hesitant to go out into the community around that because the idea is, because chickenpox has been well studied, we know that the vaccination prohibits you from actually getting infected because we are so new to the COVID infection. The healthcare community has not completely studied whether or not the vaccine causes a quiet infection or what you can call like a silent infection. So that those would be those of us who get the COVID infection but actually have no symptoms. In that instance, you could potentially transmit the virus at that point. So does the vaccine indeed cause a quiet infection, or does it make you resistant to becoming infected completely? What the healthcare community at this point tends to lean on is that it probably makes you resistant to getting infected completely. But until we have solid research in that area, what we'll do is we'll err on the side of caution and say, just wear your mask and protect until we know that study is complete. There has been a study, though, which is great. So there is studies that's out there. When we did testing of those patients that did get the COVID vaccine, a much smaller percentage of those patients, 0.1% of those patients actually demonstrated having even signs of the virus. So a tiny, tiny fraction of them. So we wouldn't say it's perfect, but if you can lay your hat on 0.1% of the chance of being able to transmit it, that's really what it is. So about 99.9% of the time, you shouldn't be transmitting the virus if you're vaccinated.
Well, I've got so much arthritis in my body, and I've had two tests so far, so I'm scared either way I go. So I hold off a little while longer. But I just got so much arthritis in my body. My back is deteriorating all the time. I'm kind of skeptical right now, so I hold off. I let somebody else go ahead and say something. Maybe I had something else to say later on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and that's the reason that we're having this conversation. Is because within our community, within the Black community, we have a hesitancy behind it. And when you combine, we have a melting pot that's going on, and that's really why Elise, who's a VP at Mary Washington Healthcare System, and I wanted to really come together because we want to protect our community. And we understand the hesitancy behind getting vaccinated. What I want us all to recognize is that we have a melting pot of a situation. Our community has a higher chance of having multiple conditions such as diabetes and high blood pressure, which puts
Mhm.
in asthma and COPD, which puts us at an increased risk um, if we should get infected with COVID. Also, we are less likely to see a physician for a multitude of reasons, which also puts us at an increased risk. And we generally live with our extended family. So generally, mom, dad, aunties and uncles may be all living in the household, and we're all generally working and needing to go out for work, which then puts us at an even greater risk than our white counterparts. So that's really why it's so important for us to understand that we are the highest risk population. And then when you combine that with our hesitancy to get the vaccination, then you can quickly start to understand why our death tolls are the way they are and they're far outpacing our white counterparts. And so we really want to come together and answer any questions that you may have and address any hesitancy that you may have around getting the vaccination. I can share with you that I've gotten the vaccine and that I've had no issues with it, and it does make me much more comfortable as I'm around my parents and my children. My husband has also gotten the vaccination. He's an emergency room physician. And what we're finding is that the vast majority of the physicians are getting the vaccine. And so we want to make sure that we're here to answer any questions from the community.
I let somebody actually ask us. Am I coming back?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll add to that. This is Paula Young. I got my vaccine
yeah.
at 4:30 this afternoon.
Oh, yay. That's
Yes.
exciting.
And doing well, feeling great. It was just a little prick. It didn't bother me not one bit. And I'll also speak a little bit to having chronic disease or taking steroids and things of that nature. I personally live with the challenge of multiple sclerosis. So
Oh,
I am on a medication that does make me immunocompromised and it does deplete B cells. However, if you are in a place where you might be immunocompromised, you want your body to be able to fight the best that your body can
Yes.
if you come into contact. Deciding to go ahead and get the virus is actually a decision for life.
Vaccine.
Yes, it's to get the to get the vaccine is a decision for life. You may get encounter contact with it, and the fact that having the vaccine may be the thing that causes you to be able to pull through better than you would have previously. And when, as Dr. Taylor was saying, when I looked through some of the numbers of the cases for African Americans, we're 1.4 times more likely to have cases. Of being hospitalized, we are 3.7 times more likely to be hospitalized. And then of death, we are 2.8 times more likely to succumb to coronavirus if we do, in fact, get in touch with it. Therefore, I am urging everyone to get the vaccine and here to answer any questions to stress the importance of this.
I've got a question for Dr. Paula Young. Hi, Dr. Young.
Hello there, Deacon Socks. How you doing? Good to see you.
I can't wait to tell Kim we had a conversation tonight.
All right.
Look, I've got a quick question. If we get the vaccine, we have a 6-year-old granddaughter that we have not seen. Well, we've seen her since last March. She usually comes over, spends the weekend with us, and she's calling me, Papa, when can I come over? After we get the vaccine, and how long after that can we say, yeah, you can come over? Is there a time zone? I know little kids bring little germs with them, but, but we want to protect each other. You know what I mean? Right. So is there a time frame in that, or how does that work?
And Dr. Young, if you want me to take any questions, that's quite fine as well.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Because I am a pediatrician, so some of the adult questions I'm gonna turf a little bit. But I will say for this one, there are each vaccine comes in 2 series. And then once you get your second series, depending on which one you get, I believe the Pfizer, my second dose is in 3 weeks. For the Moderna, the second dose will be in 4 weeks.
Yes.
And then once you get your second dose, you still need to wait about another 2 weeks before you consider yourself
Immune.
Immune, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can
And
I?
I'll give a
Oh, sorry.
I'll give a little a little understanding as to what the vaccine is. I know there's a misconception that you're getting a small dose of the actual virus, which is not the case with either the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine. What the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine is, let's say that you're wearing an overcoat. And it's an overcoat that's very specific to you, Deacon Socks. And everyone knows it. It's gold, it's bright, it says Deacon Socks is coming through the door, right? We can recognize it. That's the same thing that we're doing with the vaccine. The COVID virus wears an overcoat. Its overcoat has these spike proteins. They look like little balls on them, and it's very specific to COVID. It's not actually, so it's even before COVID is in the system. So the healthcare community was able to use the mRNA, which is a part of the virus, to clone that overcoat. So not actually the virus, just the coat that it wears. And so when we clone that overcoat, we're able to then inject it into the system, which is the vaccination, into your system. Your system then produces antibodies, which are your fighter cells. Those are the ones that get ready when it sees a common cold, when it sees any flu virus or anything like that. And it gets ready and it sees this overcoat that's specific for COVID. And it starts to develop these fighter cells against that overcoat. And so that's how we train the body to recognize the COVID vaccine. So none of it is the actual vaccine. There is no live virus. There's no dead virus that you're being injected with. It is actually just the mRNA, or looking at that those spike proteins, what I'm calling the overcoat for better understanding. And someone else had a question.
I do.
Excuse me.
Hi, my name is Barbara Green, and I do have a question.
Hey, Barbara, excuse me 1 second. I apologize,
Okay.
but let me cut everyone off for just 1 second. Our YouTube link is not working.
Okay.
So if you have anyone that's calling you, texting you, emailing you and saying, I'm trying to get in, please give them the Zoom link, and so they can join by that means. Again, anyone who's reaching out to you, hey, I'm trying to get in, the YouTube link is not working. Please give them the Zoom link that you use to get in here so that they can join in on the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologize for the interruption.
Okay. I have a question. I am a breast cancer survivor, and I also had another type of cancer. Is there a difference in choosing what type of vaccine I will need, or how do they make that choice to decide which one that I should be getting? Does that make sense?
It does completely make sense.
Okay.
There is no difference between the two vaccines. It was a race to the finish, and that's really what this was. This was two competing companies that were tasked with trying to come up with the vaccine for COVID. There is no true efficacy difference between the two vaccines. Regardless, you would be completely covered. And Dr.
Okay.
Young, if there's anything.
Can you actually spell the two vaccine for me, please, so I can do some research?
Mm-hmm.
What was the first one?
It's the companies. One of the vaccines is from Pfizer, and I think it's PHI. Is it ZER?
Yeah,
Dr.
I think
Young?
it's PFIZER.
PFI.
Okay, and what's the other one?
Moderna,
Moderna.
MODERN.
A.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
Moderna. Okay.
Moderna. Hmm.
And is it true? Another question I have, and this is just something I heard, that you can take the vaccine now, but within 6 months, you also have to take another type of vaccine. Is that correct, or is that just something that is out there?
So right now, because the vaccine is still being studied in trials, the trials
Mm-hmm.
show that you maintain your level of immunity up until 4 months at this point, which doesn't mean that you're going to need a booster. So we may be thinking of boosters in terms of, and Dr. Young and her in pediatrics knows boosters very well, but not necessarily that you'll need a booster. It's just that um, the uh, the the duration of the immunity is still being studied. So at this point, at least we know that it's covered up until 4 months.
Up until 4 months. Okay.
Hmm.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
I have a question. I when the research, I guess, just came out from, or when it came out from Britain, and there was talk that people who have allergies to medications that are on EpiPens and stuff, that they had to be careful of which vaccine they took. Is that true?
So there were some studies that were done, and there were some anaphylactic reaction, which are those allergic reactions that we all know that you would receive your EpiPens for. What I'll share with you overall, that I believe the prevalence of that was 1 in 100,000 as per the New England Journal of Medicine. So very, very rare. Um, in those instances where it did happen, it didn't appear that it was from the vaccine itself. It appeared that it was from a concentrate or preservative that we place in vaccines, which can happen. And that specific concentrate is polyethylene glycol, and that was what they found to be triggering um, the allergic reactions. But again, extremely rare. When you think about, and I do want to put this in some kind of context. Um, it's much more, and I'm sure Dr. Young will chime in on this as well. When you consider how many times we've given the COVID vaccines between Moderna and Pfizer, for it to be 1 in 100,000 that there's an allergic reaction, we actually get more allergic reactions from penicillin, noted from penicillin. So
Absolutely.
very safe. So if you want to compare the two, you probably have a higher chance of having an allergic reaction to penicillin than to the vaccine.
Okay. And the second question is, for those who are immunosuppressed due to transplants. My husband is one of those. So I know that I've heard you say that you want to get the vaccine if you are immunosuppressed. That won't change the way his kidney reacts to the medications that he takes twice a day. I guess it's a concern there.
So it shouldn't have that reaction, but what I'll share is that he would want to have that conversation with his oncologist, and as they make determinations as to the timing. The body is just like any machine. It can only handle a certain number of stressors at one time. So depending on what other medications he's on, they may want to tailor the timing of the vaccination. So definitely having that conversation in coordination with his oncologist is very important.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Should we call our doctors before taking the shot? If you have high blood pressure or a heart condition or any other condition, do you need to call your cardiologist first or whoever your care physician is before taking the vaccine?
So at this point, you don't need to contact your provider in order to get the. I'm assuming that you mean for the okay, that it's okay
Yes.
for you to take it.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily need to contact your provider for the okay, and Elise may be able to chime in terms of who is who is approved by the state to get vaccinated at this point, you may need to reach out to your primary care physician around getting um, the um, the documentation needed to demonstrate that you are within the category that's getting vaccinated at this point. Does that, am I explaining it clearly? So
I'm speaking if
Well,
you're already 65, if you already have issues, if you're 75 and you have issues, if you're a substitute teacher, you can get the shot. So I'm not saying if you can get the shot. I'm just saying if you wish to get the shot and you fall within the category that's able to get the shot right now, do you need
okay.
to contact your doctor first?
You wouldn't necessarily need to contact your provider. No, you can go ahead and make the decision to be vaccinated.
So without regard to diabetes or heart condition or
We
what?
actually encourage it in those situations. Yeah.
Okay.
We encourage it because you are at a higher risk, and if you have what are called comorbid conditions, or conditions that place other illnesses that place you at higher risk, and that would be the diabetes, the high blood pressure, the heart disease, the lung disease, all of those illnesses would place a patient at a higher risk, and so we would encourage those patients to get the vaccination. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. You haven't spoken about the new variants. You haven't mentioned it at all. And I was wondering if the current Pfizer or Moderna vaccine is effective against the new variant.
So what I'll share, I'll preference that with none of the new variants have been studied yet. So when the vaccinations came out, they were studied with the current strain that was infecting individuals at that time. So remember, I was talking about that coat, right? So the variants aren't necessarily changing their coat. It's changing what's inside the cell and how they infect. So the theories behind it is that the vaccine would still be effective because the body is recognizing the coat that the virus is coming in with, and attacking it based on the coat, and not necessarily even needing to see what's inside the virus to attack it. So the healthcare community is making the assumption at this point that getting the vaccine is even more important at this point as we're developing variants. And I'll share with you how variants occur. The variants are mutations, and the only way that mutations occur is if by chance. So as the virus jumps from Mary to Glenda to Brenda, there's a chance as it jumps to Brenda, now it gets an opportunity to mutate. If Brenda happened to be vaccinated, then it doesn't get an opportunity to mutate. So that's why it's so important to stop the virus's ability to jump from one person, for one host or one individual to another, because it's in that jumping process that it gets the opportunity as it's replicating, where it gets an opportunity to mutate. So you want to stop its ability to do that. And one of the ways that we do that is by vaccinating. I hope I answered that question clearly.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to make just some little comparisons that we do every day. And for that one, I go to an app. Like, somebody might have an iPhone 5, somebody might have the 10, somebody might have the 12, but you can all still download the app, but the phone might be different. So you see, but the app still works even when your phone is different. And that's sort of how I look at it with the variants that are coming up.
This is Tim Brown. Thank you all for putting this on. You made up a good point earlier, Dr. Taylor, I think, with respect to the hesitancy because of whatever. Outside of putting on town halls, what other marketing is being performed to push the vaccinations? And what can the church or any other organization can do to partner with you to help get that out?
That's a big one. I would have to turf that to Elise around the marketing and what we're doing to try and push the vaccine to the community.
As you mentioned, we do have our weekly town halls that happen every Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. and those are actually hosted on what we
Elise, it's a little hard to hear you. Sorry.
Okay. Are you able to hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you mentioned, we do our town halls every Thursday evening at 6:30, and those are hosted on Facebook Live. So for example, this evening there was one. Secondly, we are wanting to partner with the health department to get information out there. We are right now reaching out to those who fall into the high priority, what we're calling priority 1B grouping right now. So reaching out to people one-on-one. I think that what you all are doing here through your church is really important. And if we can do more of this to host, sessions, just meeting people where they are in their communities, through the places that they're familiar with. That's really what we want to encourage. Are you still having a hard time hearing me?
We can hear you. We hear you.
Okay. So those are so I would say in terms of how you all can help, I would say if you can create platforms like this, forums like this, invite your friends, your family to join in. I think that's the best way to get the word out. We're not doing big marketing, radio pieces and so forth, because we want to be sensitive to the fact that at this point in time, not everyone is able to get it. And so we just want to be targeted in who we reach out to for right now. And it's really, those who qualify or those who are in high risk groups.
Understand. I was looking at more forward to kind of squash the hesitancy in taking the vaccine.
Yes. And so therefore forums like this, yes, doing, the Q&A sessions, either through workplaces, or through churches like we've been doing.
At least this is not Harley. Could I ask you to put in the Facebook link in the chat so that we could share that with our congregation, please, ma'am?
Sure. Yes.
Thank you.
I've taken my first vaccine inoculation about a week or so ago. I didn't even have a sore arm or anything else.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know.
Absolutely. Way to go.
Yay.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Going back to your answer that you gave the person that asked about a kidney transplant patient that's on anti-rejection medications, said to have a conversation with your oncologist.
Yeah. So not necessarily if you're having a kidney transplant, you would want to speak with your immunologist. So whoever is managing, whether it's still your transplant surgeon, but generally it's whoever's managing your medications to make sure that it's the right timing. So if you had a kidney transplant and it's not relating to any kind of cancer, you may not be seeing an oncologist. Right. For example, if you had a kidney transplant that was related to, progressive kidney disease from diabetes, you may just be continuing to see a hematologist around that as well. So you would still want to continue to have those conversations so that they understand the timing. But again, in those patients, they're really, really high risk. And so anyone, again, to Dr. Young's point and just even her personal story, if you are high risk and you're taking immunosuppressants, just like the same way Dr. Young is taking, you really want to make sure that you're getting vaccinated. And the reason behind that is because you're on a medication or your loved one is on a medication that is decreasing their ability to fight the virus. The whole idea behind suppressive therapy that we take when you receive a transplant is we don't want your system to reject that organ. And so we quiet the body's ability to fight That works when you don't want the body to reject an organ. It does not work well for infection. So you want to have the body primed already through vaccine.
Okay, because my husband, he's not seen an oncologist or a hematologist. He only sees the nephrologist. So would that be the person that he would talk to then?
Yes. So whoever's prescribing his immunotherapy is going to be the physician that he would speak with. And I guarantee you they would strongly recommend it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Taylor, you also mentioned something about there's a possibility we might need proof of our like asthma
Your
or something
illness.
yes.
And again, that one would be for at least. I think that I'm not sure if they're still requiring proof because it's kind of hard to get that. But if you reach out to your primary care provider, whoever that may be, they may be able to connect you. The Virginia Department of Health's website, I believe, Elise. Okay, so if you can take that, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, you're doing well. I was actually trying to copy and paste the link. That's why I had stepped out of the meeting for a second. But yes, at this point in time, we are actually not requiring any, proof, but I would agree. I would just keep up with the www.vdh.virginia.gov site. And I'll also put that in chat just to keep up with what they're saying they're going to require. But at this point in time, we're taking people's word for it because there really isn't a good way to manage that process.
Okay.
And I'll put that information there as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And while we have a pause, and while it seems like you all can hear me, just a couple of things that I wanted to share. I too got my shot. I got my second round last week. The first time I got it, I had no symptoms, no side effects. The second time, I had some chills, but nothing that was that uncomfortable that couldn't be managed with Advil. I do want to encourage you all to sign up because I'm sure that the question is once you're ready and you feel comfortable, how do you go about making an appointment for vaccination? And so at this point in time, there was a time when we had a link and literally we pushed out at the hospital, we pushed out a link to the community and you could just click and sign up. Because of how we're working this in partnership with the Rappahannock Health District, we're actually working a list in conjunction with them. And so what we're asking people to do is register on that link, and it's the Rappahannock Health District, and I'll put that in the chat, registering with them. And that's essentially just putting your name on the list, indicating that you're interested in getting the vaccine. And then as we get supply of the vaccine, they will contact you. Either the Rappahannock Health District or Mary Washington Hospital will reach out to you to make an appointment. And then once you have an appointment and come through in the clinic, believe it or not, I know you sometimes see the line. If you pass the hospital, you see a line. It's a very organized process. People liken it to going to Chick-fil-A. And if you've gone to Chick-fil-A, it's just a wonderful experience. And when you arrive, you check in from your car. And we ask you to stay in your car for safety reasons. And that way the building doesn't get filled with too many people. That's how we manage the number of people in the building. When it's your turn, they'll text you to have you enter the building. You'll be greeted, directed, you'll register again. And then you'll move into a room where you'll have your vaccine given, administered. And then we'll move you to another room where we just watch you for about 15 minutes just to make sure that you have no side effects or any reaction to the vaccine. They'll schedule your second appointment, give you your immunization card showing that you've been vaccinated. And then you go home, and most people are making it through within 20 to 30 minutes. So we're really trying to make it a straightforward process.
Is that the same process for your second shot too?
Yes, it will be. Yes. For most of the people in the community, they're going through their first shot, but yes, first or second shot, it's the same process at our FIC center. So it's located at that conference center. It's our FIC conference center on the Mary Washington Hospital campus.
I have a question. Once you get the first shot, and let's say for whatever reason you end up going somewhere, can you go somewhere else and get the second shot, or do you need to come back to the same place to get the second shot?
I'd recommend that you come back to the same place and get the second shot. One of the reasons is because it's specific to you, and at Mary Washington, we want to ensure that you have your second shot. And so we're actually reserving it for you. And also you would have to remember whether or not you got your Pfizer or the Moderna and whatever the case may be. So you wouldn't want to bounce around. It's really important that you house all of that vaccinating information under one umbrella. So if you're coming to Mary Washington, you would rest assured that your second vaccination would be ready for you when it is time for you to return. So you would want to stay with us.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have a question. Are we hearing about any delays between the first and second shot in terms of availability? And is there a period of time that's too long between those shots where the first one is not effective at all?
So I'll speak to the normal length of time, and then Elise, you can speak to the delays if you don't mind. Sure. So there is a grace period of 4 days between with Pfizer and Moderna. So again, like Dr. Young spoke to earlier, the Pfizer is a 21-day lapse for the second shot, between the first and the second shot. There's a 4-day grace period there. And the same thing for Moderna, the grace period. However, Moderna is a 28-day gap between the first and second shot. I wouldn't be able to speak to delays. Elise, would you be able to do that?
So I think at the heart of your question is, if you get your first one, is there the chance that the second one might not be available?
Yes, and if too much time goes
between them.
Between, then what?
Sure, and I'll let Dr. Taylor speak to, if you get your first one and you're 6 weeks out, what is the impact in terms of the actual immunization?
Right.
But our commitment at Mary Washington Hospital is that if we call you and have you come in to get your first shot, we are keeping your second shot reserved. So you may be hearing out in the community in some places where they're saying, people are just giving whatever they have, they're just using it in hopes that the supply will come in for the second shot. We're not playing that game, if you will, right now. So pretty much if we allow you to get your first shot, we have your second shot reserved. Just because we don't want to run into that risk. Now, in terms of supply, there has been a little bit of a slowdown. And I think it's just, if you can just imagine across the nation trying to distribute all of these vaccines, what we're seeing in our area, we're getting about 4,000 doses per week. We wish we had more because we can actually vaccinate 2,000 people per day. Yesterday, we vaccinated 2,000. Today, we vaccinated 2,000. So, but the reality is we're not getting as much as we initially got, but it's about 4,000 doses per week. And when we say 4,000 doses, that means 8,000 shots, but enough to vaccinate 4,000 people a week. And as our supply increases, we will open up. We're pushing. We call the health department all the time to say, send us more, we can do more. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Who do we have out there that's still on the fence?
Dr. Taylor, I think there was the other part of that question, because I think there's this question of, if I'm understanding correctly, if I get my first shot on January, let's say I get my first shot February 1, and it's Pfizer, and so technically 21 days later, so let's say February 22 is when I should get my second shot.
Mm-hmm.
What if I miss that date, gone out of the country, hopefully not, and for whatever reason, I can't get that second shot till March 15?
Still just get it.
Impact still get it.
You still get it. We don't know the impact on your immunity at that point, but we strongly suggest that you just still get the second shot either way.
And I want to highly suggest that we definitely get that second shot. I have encountered with someone who got the first shot, started feeling okay, and loosened up just a little bit with the mask and all those kind of things, and ended up contracting coronavirus. So please be careful, get your first shot, continue to mask, continue to social distance, and get your second shot in the timely specified manner.
Hello, everyone. Question. My wife and I, we registered with the Rappahannock Health District. It is mighty inviting to see Mary Washington. You can register there, but they do ask you if you registered with the Rappahannock Health District that you really don't have to register with Mary Washington. Again, it is enticing, but I won't do that. I'll just stay with the Rappahannock and wait to get hopefully an appointment time, or they get back in touch with me so I can go and set up an appointment. So that is the best thing to do, right? Just register with one.
Correct. Yes, because we're working in close partnership with the Rappahannock Health District. We're working the same lists. And so as the prioritizations open up, we're working together. So yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you know when more vaccines will be available at Mary Washington?
We don't. So other than what we know, which is that we're going to get the 4,000 doses per week, we do anticipate that production is going to ramp up, because the government is getting even more involved to help increase supply. We heard that the Biden administration is actually purchasing some additional doses to push them out into various communities. And there are also other companies that are creating vaccines. So we've got Johnson & Johnson is in the process of doing studies, as well as AstraZeneca. And so
For a one dose.
Yes, and yes, both of them are one doses. I know Johnson & Johnson
is a one dose. Yes.
So there will
Johnson
be
Johnson
more
is
and
trying
more
to create that one
companies.
dose.
Yeah. So our supply will increase. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but it will only go up from here in terms of supply.
Question, what if you've already contracted coronavirus, COVID-19, and recovered? Should you still take the vaccine?
We still recommend vaccinating, even if you've actually gotten the virus. Just like anything else, just like any illness, there isn't a absolute certainty that you developed immunity. Even when you contracted the virus. So we're still recommending that you get vaccinated. I believe the wait time is 90 days from that point. So if you contracted, they would recommend that you wait 90 days before getting vaccinated.
Another question. What's the efficacy of the one dose shot like Johnson & Johnson is coming out? Is it as high as the 2-dose Pfizer Moderna?
We don't know yet. So I can hedge my bets that they're not going to come out with anything less than 95% because they're trying to beat their competitor. But we don't know yet.
Okay, there were reports early on that it was much lower. That's why I asked.
I have a question. I've heard comparisons of the COVID-19 virus to the flu. And with regards to vaccination I guess I have two questions. What are the similarities or comparisons between the COVID-19 virus and the flu virus? And if someone does get the COVID-19 vaccination, is it like the flu virus where, they're going to need to basically get that vaccination again in subsequent years?
So I'll do the first part first. First part of your question, the comparison between the COVID virus and the flu virus. There's no comparison. They're completely different. So they're from completely two different families. So it's because you get even if you were to get vaccinated for COVID. One second. Sorry, I have a little one. Even if you were to get vaccinated for COVID, it would not protect you against flu. And then the second part of your question, remind me again.
So when getting the flu virus, I know the flu it's recommended that you get the yearly vaccination for the flu. Is the vaccination for COVID-19 going to be similar?
We wouldn't be able to tell at this point. So right now, what we can say is that the protection is up to 4 months because that's where the studies have demonstrated. There's it's too early to tell whether it would be something that would require a yearly vaccination.
But if you only know that it's up to 4 months, what would be the purpose of getting it if you're going to isolate and just be careful for 4 months?
All right. So the reason that we say 4 months is because it's still studied. So as time goes on, all of those participants that got the vaccine, I think they believe they started was in the summer. Dr. Young, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
So they started in the summer. They're now regularly testing those early participants, and it was about 50,000 of them, 50,000 participants in each. So you have about 100,000 people that started getting the vaccine way before we started getting the vaccine. And so as time goes on, we can then say, okay, of these 100,000 people, yep, 99% of them now at this 6-month mark are still have immunity, and then they'll change it. And then maybe 2 months later, they'll check all those participants again and say, yep, 99% of them still have immunity, and then they'll change it. So as time goes on and it's being studied, then you can move the point at which you're saying people, participants are maintaining their immunity. The idea is that you're running a risks game. So by not getting vaccinated, you're taking a risk, right? So your inherent risk at that point is saying, I'm going to run the risk, the chance that if I'm not getting vaccinated, that there's a chance that I'll contract the virus. This is why we push the vaccine amongst those who are immunocompromised and who have illnesses such as high blood pressure and heart disease and lung disease, and those who are in the mature age population, because we know your risk is too great. It's too great to run that risk at that point. And so we encourage you and strongly urge those people that fall into that category to say, don't play this Russian roulette to say, let's wait and see what happens. Too many Americans have succumbed to this illness to wait and see around something that has demonstrated the ability to save our lives.
Yeah, and there's a personal side to that too. While you're in that wait and see, like like some people are saying, they want to see their grandchildren. Like I didn't get to spend Thanksgiving with my mother, Christmas with my mother, or her birthday with her. So that's what the wait and see does. Versus if we go ahead and get our vaccines, and then we start working towards herd immunity, we can start sharing time with our loved ones again. It's, it gets to be even bigger than the science when we start talking about the importance of being around people you love and touching people you love and things of that nature.
Yes.
Could I return to a previous question?
Of course.
The question related to someone who has had the virus and recovered and then taking the vaccine, and it was suggested that it would be 90 days out from the initial diagnosis, I suppose. So if it's less, if it's like 60 days, is that less effective?
No, it's not less effective. One of the reasons that they ask, and I would have to double check. I'm not sure if you know, Dr. Young. I would have to double check to make sure that it's 90 days. I'm almost certain.
I'm certain I've read 90 days. Yeah.
Okay, good. The reasoning behind the 90 days is there's an acute phase. There's a early stage to the infection, right? So I'm sure we've all heard of patients that are sitting on these ventilators and these breathing machines for weeks and weeks and weeks. That's not actually the early stage of the virus. What that is the immune response that infection causes is lingering so long. So what we don't want to run into is the chance that you're still having an immune response to that infection, and then we give you the vaccine on top of that, because your body can only handle so much at one time. It's it's too much of a stressor to have your body going through the immune response of still dealing with the actual virus, and then us asking it to do the work of now developing an additional immune response because we vaccinated. So we want to make sure that you're completely outside of that window. Your body has calmed down. It's back to baseline. It's got all of the machinery. It has all the resources that it needs in order to do the work of creating immunity from the vaccine, with the vaccine, excuse me. Does that make sense? I hope I'm being clear.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Since quite a few of the seniors do not want to take the vaccine, if
I
they
hope we can
wait
change that.
until the summer, when it's open to the general public, will they still have a priority at that time?
I don't know. I don't know. So that's part of the issue, right? That we run is this train is going. And if there's a concern, and I don't know what the Biden administration is going to do, and even the governor of Virginia is going to decide, is there going to be a decision made that if you're outside of that window where you were a priority, do you now just fall in with everyone else? There is a chance that that may happen because you are no longer within that priority window.
I do
Can
think
you
that
specify what
So
groups you are prioritizing right now?
Say the first part of the question again.
I think Dr. Young was going to answer something else if we can.
I was asking what groups are you prioritizing right now that you're currently giving the vaccine to?
Are you all able to hear me? I had to switch devices. Are you able to hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the group that they're on right now, they're calling it Group 1B, and that includes anybody over the age of 65. That includes essential health workers. So that would be, people who work in the hospital, teachers, firefighters, policemen, educators, daycare workers, grocery workers. And then the third group is anyone, those who are in the high risk population. A lot of those comorbidities that Dr. Taylor and Dr. Young have referenced for those who are age 16 to 64. So it's high risk, essential workers, and anyone over the age of 65.
And Dr. Young.
And then yes, Dr. Young was going to say something. Yeah.
So I was just going to speak to the fact of once we pass a phase, I do have great concern if you pass your phase that you would be able to get priority when the next phase starts.
Yeah.
I also am with the ethics team here, and part of why we're doing it this way is also to get it to people that need it. But you also have to have fair distribution, of this vaccine, and you don't want to promote health disparities with the system that you've devised. So if you devise a system and then you start letting people come back in and cut the line, that's not an ethical way to do that. So I highly encourage you, when it's your time, to please proceed and don't hesitate.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that are out there waiting, and trying to get in. There are a lot of instances there where people are really trying to get in and get vaccinated, and we're having to hold true so that we can make space for the categories that we're in now. But yeah, I can definitely see it being a problem if you wait. That it's going to be a mad dash for the vaccine.
I have a question, please. This is Tempia Thomas, and I have concerns about the mutations that have seemingly come into our country just out of the blue, just in the middle of our country. Is there any explanation or understanding as to how this is happening?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great question. Every time the virus replicates, so once God forbid, the virus should get into my body. One single virus, let's say one single virus gets into my body, it has to multiply. and it has to produce millions and millions of virus in order to really be able to rise to a level where it's doing me harm and it's making me sick. By the time you see symptoms from me, there's millions of virus that's floating through my body. Every time it multiplies, it can mutate, or mutations are accidents. It's by chance. So it multiplies, and it's supposed to multiply in a certain way, and just by chance, it makes an error. If that error makes the virus stronger, it will then outpace the old version. So now this is the virus 1.1 version. So there was a 1.0, and by happenstance, it multiplies and creates another mutation, and that mutation makes it stronger. That now becomes the 1.0 version, and that one then takes over. And in the same instance, this 1.0 version jumps to Dr. Young, and it's replicating, and ups, it makes an error. But ooh, this error works really well for me.
Yeah, now we got the 3.0.
Now we have that 3.0
Yeah.
version, and that's how mutations. I stole your.
Yeah, that was my other one, by the way.
And now it's and now you have the 3.0 version. So it's in that replication that the errors occur. And again, that is why vaccinating becomes so important, because now if I am not vaccinated and I create a mutation, you heard that, mommy, but Dr. Young is vaccinated. It thought it was going to get an opportunity to jump to Dr. Young and mutate, but she's vaccinated and she's protected. So that's where the vaccination becomes key in halting the virus's ability to mutate.
So this is Tim Brown, my last question. So anybody can register now. It's just that when their time comes up, they can go and get, they will be notified when they fall to the category.
That's my understanding. But if you go on the link that I put, and I put some information in the chat, I put a link to the Facebook Live that happened this evening at Mary Washington Healthcare. And then if you go to the website, I would just double check. So I don't want to lead you wrong, but if you go there, it'll talk about all the different, ways how you can sign up and the different groups that can. And I would say if it does not allow you to put your name on the list, keep checking and just keep bookmark that page so that you can be one of the first to get on the list.
Well, I'm on the list at work, so. Yeah.
Oh, good. Perfect.
So,
Do you mind telling us what the website is?
Sure. It is. Sure.
Okay.
I believe that it should be www. So www.v like Victor, D like David, H like Harry, .virginia.gov, G-O-V is what it should be. Dr. Taylor, did you peer check me there? Did I get that correct? It's in the chat as well.
I'm gonna check you now there.
Thank you.
It's vdh.virginia.gov. Yep, that's it.
Okay. Yep.
So
and it's also in the chat.
Site, can I ask one other question? I hate to be a dummy, but when you go to that site, there is such a tremendous amount of information. If you know you're eligible and you just want to sign up, what do you do from there?
I think that there is,
hold on, I'm going to see if I can
thank
walk
you, because
through.
my iPad is where I have all the information, but I had to call in with my iPad because my computer died. But I think there's a section where if you're qualified because of age, I think there's a place where you can just click. It says like click here, but Dr. Taylor will confirm.
So let me see if I can share my screen with this. Hopefully you guys, are you guys able to see my screen?
Not yet, but
let's see.
There should be a way that you.
So this is
something's happening. Yes, I think yes, we can see your screen. Yep.
So right now we are in the 1A and then 1B. So this is what Elise was speaking of. I believe you would be able to click here. And so, oh yeah, it's really painful.
When you went to that first page, was it right there on that first page? Let me see something really quick.
Let me see. So here, how do I, no, not there. Vaccine information. Yeah, that is kind of a pain, huh?
Yeah, you're right. Let me see.
Yeah. I've been on here for a long time and I never could figure out how to sign up.
Even the link that you sent us tonight is the same way. There's no place that just says register here. So it's
It is confusing.
So complicated, yeah.
Let's see. Conduct here.
So I clicked on the COVID vaccine here, and it brings me here. Find out what you're eligible for. Oops. Is it the V-Safe application?
I don't think so. And it almost,
I'll have to look through. Yeah.
yeah, because it almost feels like the website changed, because literally before I came on, this is not what it looked like, which is interesting.
Yeah, there's one other approach. If you go up and
Oh, here it is. Here it is. I found it. So it is that V-Safe application. So we'll try it again. Sorry, guys.
Are you still sharing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there it goes. So it was, so if you went here, so when you're on the first page, you're going to go to COVID vaccine. When you click COVID vaccine, it's going to bring you to this page. You're going to scroll down to this V-Safe application. Select English. It's going to bring you here, and then it's the registration process.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Thank you for doing that. I
Doc-
need to
yes,
see what
Dr.
our
Ta-
patients are going through.
I know. And this
Yeah.
was really good for us to experience this.
Yeah.
Dr. Taylor, is there a way, probably not if, but from this page, can you copy and paste this at
Into
least
it?
this far into the chat? Because if, I think it will
I'll
allow.
do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, that was a mess. Well, whew. Okay, I got it, and it's in there now.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I have an input if you want to expand on the knowledge base. If you, at the top, if you would click on the Rappahannock Health District to get down to Rappahannock, on that page, it also gives you, well, it keeps you updated with whatever letters or whatever has come out in reference to what the district has put out. And even on there, you can register also.
Oh, wonderful. So on the Rappahannock District website.
Right.
Awesome.
And under there, it also has district letters or whatever has come out specifically to keep us informed every day.
Excellent.
Well, not necessarily every day, but keep us informed as to what information, latest information.
Up to date.
Okay.
Is there a telephone number that could be called for those who may not have internet capability, computer capability?
Yes, there was, Dr. Taylor, it was, there was a link off to the left. So from that same page where you were.
I'm gonna share my screen again. Let me see. Here we go.
It was, so back on that first link, it was back at the VDH before we got this far in. Yes. Can we may have, yep. And back up one more. Oh, yeah.
Is it this?
There, that is
VDH.
one of them. And then there was one that actually went straight to the Rappahannock Health District. It had the address and the phone number. If you can go back. I mean, for sure, that's an option. And then off to the left, if you scroll up a little bit and off to the left here. At find your local, is that clickable?
Yeah.
And then I think here, like, let's say we were to put in,
The health district website.
If you go to district directory.
Oh, goodness. Oh,
Yes, I can.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, no. It's not this. It's not this.
Okay.
Go back to the local health. If you go to VDH back up, no, I would even back up from here. Actually, I think if you just click home, it was literally off of the front page.
Okay.
All right. And then scroll down a little bit, and it was Rappahannock Health.
Oh, it's not this hotline here.
No, it's not.
Well, if you go back up, if you want me to, I can give an input.
Yes, please do.
If you go back up to, and you click on health departments right there.
Yes.
Okay, click it. And then come down to the map and click on Rappahannock.
All right, help
to
me.
your right, Sheena.
Yeah, to the right.
You guys.
You're right there. You're right there. A little bit down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Then you see at the top to the left, well, back down, scroll back down, and right to the left by the Rappahannock Area District. Whoops.
Yes, that's
back
it.
up.
A little bit
Yeah,
further down. Yeah.
Down. Well, actually, this is the information. If you scroll back up, if you scroll back up, notice all the way back up to the left, back up. Notice to the left, top, right up on the have questions in the red right there. It says Rappahannock Area Health District. This is the information that I was talking about, that if you scroll down now, if you scroll down up under the Rappahannock, okay, if you scroll, like vaccination plan, that's the latest.
That's all we vaccinate by appointment only. Complete the survey for the phase 1. And if you're an individual with medical condition,
click the
then you complete this survey.
And there's the information about the 65 or older who is medical.
Okay, got
That's the
it.
survey right there.
Got it.
And then Dr. Taylor, if you go back up a little bit and to your left and click on a little bit further up. Yes, contact your local health department. Yes, there it is. There's also an address and phone number for the district office.
We did it.
Yay.
What about that person that has no knowledge of a computer at all? How will they find that?
We would never.
So the
take this number down.
Yeah, dial 540-899-4797.
And then also the Area Agency on Aging can also help assist people, those who may not have access to technology.
So that number one more time is 540-899-4797.
And that's for the Rappahannock Area Health District Office.
And for the Shiloh congregation, we'll put that out in a membership broadcast by telephone.
Wonderful.
So that you will have that for those who don't have internet capability, as well as send it by email so that you can communicate it. And we are asking deacons to be in contact with folks right now. So Diaconate, if you would please help us in getting that number out. And we'll work through that process. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Denise Milner. If there is someone in our congregation who is the health care person in a household, but that person is healthy and 40 some years old, are they able to get the vaccine with the elderly person that they are caretaker for at this time?
I have not heard that. I don't think that that's the case. Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, wouldn't it put that person, the elderly, at risk if they were to
It does.
they're the caregiver and they live in that home? I didn't know if exceptions were made, as because that is something that is concerning.
Sure, I completely understand that. I don't think that I've heard that. I don't know Dr. Young or Dr. Taylor, but I have not heard that there are those types of exceptions at this point in time.
No, I have not heard that.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense. I know because you're
Mhm.
like, I need to be protected. It's a all hands on deck, and all who are highest risk first. And so, unfortunately, it wouldn't be. It doesn't sound. I don't think that that's a possibility at this point, unless, of course, you had your own healthcare problems, and then, of course, you would be a candidate.
Can you tell me if, go ahead, Denise, I'm sorry.
I have another question from another member. If you were scheduled to have a kidney biopsy, what would be the ideal time for you to get your vaccine, the COVID vaccine? When should you schedule it? How far from the time that you have the kidney biopsy would you recommend getting?
That's an interesting question. It shouldn't change the time frame in which you get your kidney biopsy. The two should not be. It shouldn't be related. Of course, I would ask you to check with your surgeon who's doing the biopsy and anyone else that you're working with. But the two of them should not be related.
Okay, thank you.
Could you tell me if pharmacy workers are on that first responders list? Because I haven't seen that they are.
I think they are.
Yeah, they are.
I think they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
they are.
Because my daughter works at a pharmacy, and she said they've not been able to get them yet because they're not on the list as pharmacy being important enough to be.
I think pharmacists are on the list because behavioral health.
Yeah.
Behavioral health therapists are on the list of essential workers was actually quite extensive.
So a pharmacist is on it, but not the workers in the pharmacy, correct?
Oh, that's possible.
Yes.
Yes. I pharmacists are, but yes, it is possible that maybe a clerk or a tech may not be. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening. I have some questions for members as well. And also I'm in category 1B, so I'll be getting my vaccine tomorrow night.
Good.
So looking at the two different fact sheets for Moderna and Pfizer in the side effects section, they're a little different in each section, but you said there's not much difference in the vaccines themselves. So if someone could address that. And then secondly, if someone has a needle phobia, just the sight of all those fantastic folks on TV setting the example for others, but once they see them pluck at the needle, it's like it's a done deal, it's a wrap. They're not interested in taking it just from the sight of the injection. So just give them folks some encouragement. But yeah, the differences in the vaccines according to the side effects in the fact sheets, so someone could address that.
Dr. Young, you look like you wanted to.
Well, I was looking to see. I don't know that I have that fact sheet in front of me with the differences of the side effects, but in general, it's maybe some itching or redness at the spot of the injection. You may feel tired. You may, get some headaches. You may have some swelling. You may have some nausea, but I don't know that one is specific for one name brand versus the other. Just in general, some of the side effects you may get from getting the injection.
Yeah, so on the fact sheet, the list is different.
Okay, I'm not aware.
Yeah, they're different. What I will say, in just what you just said, my mom and dad had theirs yesterday. My dad is doing fine. No, maybe a little tiredness at the beginning, but my mom is experiencing some tightness and a little swelling from the injection site, but my dad is no side effects at all.
That's wonderful.
And in general, both in their 70s, yes.
Oh, blessings. In general, the fatigue is the body's doing some work. You know, it's because it's busy. It's if you look at your body like a factory, you just gave it a whole ton of product to make, and it's very busy at making that product, which are those antibodies, and so that's why you get some of the fatigue, the tiredness. So the best thing you can do is make sure you keep hydrated, you're well rested, so that it can do the work that it needs to do.
And for the needle phobia,
Yeah.
you can, first of all, close your eyes. You don't want to
Look
look
away.
at it.
Mm-hmm.
You can wear a mask. You can put in some headphones and play
Mhm.
some music. Play some gospel music while you're sitting there,
Amen.
you know, and put your mask on and just
Mhm.
turn them and you just let them,
Turn away.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I have a needle phobia. I don't. They always have to use the butterfly when they draw my blood.
I laugh
And I
at
just
Elise all the time.
and I just, I shared with the person, this is not the most exciting thing for me. So just, let me know when you're about to go in. And I just turned my head. I didn't even feel a thing. I looked away and was none the wiser. So, yeah.
Question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Question. The reason for wearing 2 and 3 masks, is that significant, or one mask will do the trick?
One mask will do the trick.
Thank you.
Oh, going back to her question, she was talking about me with the needles.
He's
Hi,
not
Chris.
alone. No.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, sis.
I will say, when I took my first one, I didn't even feel the needle.
Oh,
I did
great.
feel a little soreness later on that night, but the next morning it went away.
That's the same that happened to my spouse and I. We took the shot 2 weeks ago,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
just from the spot where we had the incision, it was nothing after that. And I would say that taking it at the Mary Washington, at the organization of how we go through the process is excellent.
Good.
We'll be sure to bring that back to the team.
I saw a question in the chat about, whether Mary Washington Hospital is partnering with the VA for vaccine distribution. At this point in time, we're not. But I mean, that could change in the future. But at this point in time, we're primarily partnering with the Rappahannock Health District for distribution.
I do have to hop off. I have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old who are relishing in the fact that they're way past bedtime.
Bless you.
Yeah,
Yes, me
so
too. And I have a 9-year-old and 10-year-old boy, and they're also quite excited that we're just getting to run around. So at some point, I'll probably have to go put them down.
So I can hang on for 5 more minutes if there are any last questions.
I have a question. Is the vaccine free, or is it insurance? Do you have to have an insurance?
Free.
No, it's
Come
free.
get
It's all
protected. It's free.
Yeah, it's all paid for.
Okay.
Come on. I hope everyone, I wish I can see everyone's face so I can come and look for you guys. I don't want to see you coming through this ER coughing and having trouble breathing and saying, Dr. Taylor, I need help. I'm gonna be like, listen, didn't I tell you to come get this vaccine? So I hope to see everyone over there protecting our community. We strive so hard to get to a point where we can now protect ourselves and be treated equally. So let's exercise that opportunity.
Ladies, if I could jump in, this is Matt Harley again. We really, really thank you sincerely for the time that you've given us tonight. On behalf of our pastor, Dr. Parrish, and entire congregation, and others in the community who were able to join us tonight, we sincerely appreciate your time and the information you provided. We will reserve the right to see if we can come back to you at an earlier time in the day so that the kids don't have a party.
You're good. Perfectly fine.
But thank you very much, and we don't want to impose on your time any longer. So everyone on the line, thank you for joining us, and we'll get this information out to you in the next day. And I'm just going to do a very quick prayer to close us out, if you could, please. Eternal God, we thank you for this opportunity that you've allowed us to gather. We're grateful, God, for these who you've allowed to come and share their knowledge with us. We ask, God, that you would empower us to take what they've given us, use it to improve our lives, our community, and our world. We ask, God, that you would empower your grace against this virus, and that you would free us from this pandemic. In the meantime, God, we're just going to lean, trust, and depend on you. In all things, God, we just give you praise and glory and thanksgiving. Bless you, God, we pray in the name of your Son. Amen.
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 Thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thank you. Bye. It was nice meeting you all.
Bye-bye. It was good
Bye-bye.
seeing so many of my friends from back in Fredericksburg.
Bye, sis.
Bye.
Hey, Nat.
Yes,
Oh, they're already gone, I think.
yes.
The waiters.
I know. I already talked to him.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
All right. All right, you guys. Have a good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Hi, Denise. How are you?